Bin Laden is no longer a threat. And we've been talking about whether the world is more safe or less safe. In a time of crisis, you have to be very careful with every move. Clearly, the world is better off without UBL. It's great. But now, each step that we take, we have to be very careful. Releasing pictures, is that going to be helpful? Is that going to stop anybody from believing that it was all hoax? There are people, 14%, is it 14 or 8% of the population believe we never went to the moon, the U.S. population. So, hello, pictures don't help. But we have to see what we've done in the last couple of years. Who are our friends anymore, honestly? I asked my radio audience today, what do we even stand for? Who are we? What do we believe in as a country? Who are our friends? I don't know. Who are the allies? And what's going on? I want to show you a video here from a journalist and a Middle East expert. This is what he had to say on Iran's government press TV. Watch.
America, Britain, France, yes, real economic difficulties. But strangely, the economic difficulties means the Americans in particular, and the British and French to a lesser extent, are prepared to use their military power to offset their economic decline.
Their military power? I want you to know who this guy is. First of all, this is the guy who last month resigned from the British Socialist Workers' Party after 32 years of membership. I guess being the editor of Socialist Worker paper qualifies him as a journalist and an expert on the Middle East. So here's a socialist, communist, Marxist revolutionary talking about the government as a socialist, communist, Marxist revolutionary and saying, you know what, they're going to go to war. Is this what our country is being set up for? I don't think so. But the Iranians believe that. And it is the way that when people hyperinflate, that's the way they usually get out of it. But I want to show you what's happening to our country. Our country is transforming everything. All of our ties are changing. This is who our traditional allies have been. And these are our traditional foes. But let's go through them one by one, shall we? France. Here's the latest on France. President Obama called them a strong friend and an ally, but the honeymoon is over. They now have to take the lead in Libya. Right. And if the election were held today, Sarkozy would lose to Le Pen, who said she will break the alliance with NATO and realign with Russia. So with friends like France, I mean, who needs Russia? They're kind of in the question mark category now. Germany congratulated us on UBL. But they're also looking for new friends. Russia. Construction on an underwater oil pipeline between Russia and Germany underway. England, things have been a little strained, since we sent the bust of Winston Churchill back and gave the Queen an iPod of his best speeches. But they're basically toast. They're still our ally, but, I mean, anybody who watched the royal wedding of, Kate and Leopold, they were walking down, and somebody on TV said, that could be the next king. And I thought, yes, if there is another king. Canada. You probably missed this piece of news, but this is good. Stephen Harper and his Conservatives won yesterday. I mean, I may just knock back some maple leaf syrup and, break out into "Oh, Canada," because they're our strongest ally. Please, let us across the border, please. How frightening is this, that this is the ally that is, no offense, Canada, but, I mean, you've never been really known for your fighting prowess. But you're the strongest one of the group now. Pakistan. Well, I think they're over here. They could fall at any time. Friend or foe, which are they? Were they harboring UBL or not? His death could throw the country into a tailspin, and let's not forget that the Mumbai incident, the killers were from Pakistan. So now we're spreading from Iran through Afghanistan into Pakistan into India. Oh, it's good. Wait a minute. Who was it on this show that said, who's me? From India all the way to Spain. Egypt. Since Mubarak stepped down, anti-American sentiment has been growing. We're not real popular over there. The Muslim Brotherhood, all for Sharia law, poised to take control. Go to glennbeck.com to see the latest approval ratings for the Muslim Brotherhood, and ours. By the way, they came out today and defended resistance against U.S. presence in Iraq and Afghanistan as legitimate. But our president loves it. Foe. Israel is repeatedly criticized by this White House. We are at a relationship that we haven't had in 35 years. Saudi Arabia, if you've been following it all, why do you think they're not pumping more oil? They're really, really angry. They don't like the example that we're setting in Libya by killing leaders. That's falling apart. I'll put them over here. China is reducing their debts. Our debts. They're not holding our debts anymore. It's also on an economy. Their economy's on a track now to overtake ours by 2016. Saudi Arabia has been courting China for their own little special deal. They're trying to have a little energy alliance since they're disappointed with us. Japan, there's nothing left of Japan. Between the earthquake, the tsunami, and the 400-plus aftershocks, Japan is crippled and on the DL. Now, wow. What happens? Remember during the time of hope and change, the idea was the president to repair our international relations. I mean, unless he meant relations in a biblical sense, I mean, we're not really repairing anything. We still get along with these guys. Kind of. I think these guys still like us. Oh, and these guys like us. Well, Brazil, really, not so much. I mean, yes and no. There's nothing like a former Marxist guerrilla that went to prison for trying to overthrow their president, their government, who's president now of Brazil. I don't look at Brazil really like we're friends or allies. I think Brazil kind of looks at us like clients. We're kind of Elliot Spitzer to Brazil. As long as the check clears, they're in. Remember, our friends. Now, let me ask you this. Our enemies. Are they getting stronger or weaker? Is Iran stronger or weaker? Is Russia stronger or weaker? Cuba stronger or weaker? North Korea stronger or weaker? Here's the point. UBL and Al-Qaeda were the old idea to scare people into Sharia law. Terrorize them. Kill them. The new paradigm is the Muslim Brotherhood. Organize. Legislate. Stand up for democracy. Get Sharia law in place. You can do it. It's a lot easier to community organize than to convince people to blow themselves up. Community organizing is the most powerful weapon on the planet today. You can kill UBL. But as I just told you, the idea lives on. There is a competing idea. It's globalism, it's statism, Marxism, Sharia. And it seems as though we are being separated and cut apart from anyone who once believed in that idea. Because nobody wants to stand with a bunch of people that are only about stuff. That's where we begin tomorrow, the competing idea. Back in a minute. Bin Laden's death raises a lot of questions. Are we more safe or less safe now? My guess is that we are less safe temporarily, but if we do the right things, more safe. Michael Scheuer is the former head of the CIA's Bin Laden unit, also the author of Osama bin Laden. Let me just explain something about Michael before I bring him on. I've known Michael. Michael, how long have we known each other? Maybe
5-6 years.
5-6 years, yeah. And Michael and I disagree on some things here and there, but you'll notice that I have very few guests on this show, and that's, pardon my language, just because most people speak bull crap, and they don't tell you what they really think. He does. agree or disagree. If you're in a firefight, you want somebody to tell you the truth. So here we are in a firefight, Michael. First of all, you watched the show or saw a few minutes of it here as you were waiting. How much is bullcrap here? Am I on the right track, or am I going in the wrong direction?
Well, I think certainly we underestimate, Glenn, the dismay with the United States around the world, especially in the Muslim world. We heard the president on Sunday repeat again and again, as did President Bush, as did President Clinton, that we're not at war with Islam. Well, that's fine, but increasing numbers of Muslims across the Islamic world are at war with us and with our allies.
Okay.
And it's a very broad war, and one that we're going to have to fight for a very long time.
It doesn't seem to me, though, that, I mean, you know and I know, Michael, we can't fight this war for a very long time. How much is this war costing us? And look at our debt. What is happening to us is exactly what Osama bin Laden said he would do to us. I believe back in 1999, he said he would do to us what he did to the former Soviet Union, which is basically bleed us to death. And that's the road that we're headed down. If we don't have a competing idea, one that unites the world, because that's what he is. He had an idea that is uniting the Middle East, and now the Muslim Brotherhood have a similar one, and it's Sharia law. Correct or wrong?
Well, there's certainly a similarity between Osama bin Laden and the Muslim Brotherhood, and it is Islamic government, Glenn. That's exactly right. The Brotherhood is much more sophisticated in organization, in fact has a political organization of its own, but its goal in many ways is much more imperialistic, much more global than Osama bin Laden's. Bin Laden was a defensive jihadist, if you will, wanting to reclaim some territory that was lost by Islam. But if you read the Brotherhood's material rather than what they tell CNN, the Brotherhood is very much an imperialist organization like the Saudis, who want to install an Islamic government in every country of the world, which would mean conversion for
death.
Jews or Christians,
Right.
or it would mean death,
Okay.
or it would mean a special tax.
Hold on just a second. Back in a minute. Michael Scheuer, he is the former head of the CIA's bin Laden unit. And Michael, I wanted to ask you two questions. We only have 90 seconds, so the first one is yes or no. Shouldn't this debate about the photos of whether we should release the death photos of Osama bin Laden have been done long ago, before the trip was even made?
Yeah, I think this is a botched thing, Glenn.
Okay.
They should have decided before they went how they were going to identify
Right.
the body to the American people.
Okay, so the second thing is the destabilization of Pakistan, intentional or unintentional. What does this mean to the war on terror, if you will?
Well, certainly we're tearing Pakistan apart by what we have asked it to do and what it has done. But perhaps the most dangerous thing was the State Department's insistence that Mrs. Bhutto go back and democracy be restored. At least Musharraf was helping us. Since that election, the president of Pakistan is one of the most corrupt people on earth, and the country as a whole is really falling apart. It seems to me, at least, that our best bet is if the military at some point in the near future takes over.
Wow, thank you. Michael, appreciate it. We'll be back in just a second. We can take these stupid security fences down and start pushing back and make the Marxists and those who want Sharia law and the global.
Well, perhaps nobody but the United States has suffered as greatly at the hands of al-Qaeda.